Welcome to the channel. My name is Jason. Today I'm in the 2022 Toyota Venza, the Venture Monza. As always, I'm going to take a look at this thing from the inside out, do some car seat fit checks. I'm going to take it for a test drive as always. We are going to take a look at some of the changes that are coming for the 2023 model year as well, and do a few comparisons with the Rav4. Let's go ahead and take a look. So first off, this is Toyota's mid-size SUV, one of their 12 SUVs in their lineup. It's pretty easy to get lost in that SUV lineup, but we are sitting on the same wheelbase as their super popular compact Rav4. Interestingly enough, this one is a little bit longer. Despite being longer, it actually has about the same interior space and actually loses a little bit of space in the cargo area. But that does not mean that this one is necessarily worse, because you do get some gains. You have newer technology. One of the biggest things is this one is all-wheel drive. So when the Venza came back in 2021 after it took a break, stopped around 2015, came back in 2021 for the second generation. It came back as a hybrid only in 3 trim levels. You have the LE, the luxury edition, the XLE, the executive luxury edition, and the limited trim. And we're in the limited trim today, but I'll talk about some of the differences. And it is hybrid only and it is all-wheel drive only. Now the Rav4 does offer the same powertrain, the same 2.5 liter engine with a hybrid motor, with an electric motor, of course, because it's a hybrid. And the Rav4 offers front-wheel drive or all-wheel drive. In this one, the all-wheel drive system works a little bit differently though. In the Rav4, you can get up to a 50-50 split front-back, but this one has 3 motors actually, and it has one motor just specifically for the rear wheels. Instead of having your typical transfer case sort of setup, this one has its own motor for the rear wheels. So it can get 100% up to the front wheels, or we could go as much as 80% to the back wheels. And so that is super helpful in situations where you want to get more of a rear wheel drive kind of feel. It'll help with the handling a little bit. It'll help reduce understeer, as well as the active cornering assist that this thing has. So if you're going through corners harder, it will help with the understeer. Not that this thing is going to go through corners super hard, but it is surprisingly nimble actually. It can take the corners pretty well, and you don't have quite as much top heaviness as you would expect. I mentioned a 2.5 liter engine, so between that and the electric motor up front, we are making 219 horsepower combined, and this one is mated to an eCVT, so we get the whirring from the electric motor and the kind of droning from the CVT. Not exactly the best setup in terms of, you know, audio here, but they did a good job actually of reducing NVH. The engine noise isn't too bad. The vibration is not really too bad, and actually the insulation in the floor is really good as well. You don't have a whole lot of road noise coming in, and at low speeds you don't really have too much noise going on at all around you. But once you start getting on to the highway, you start getting to higher speeds, you get a decent amount of wind noise. So that's about my only noise complaint that I have. And being that it is a CVT, we don't have our fixed gears, but we do for some reason have a sequential option down here where you can kind of shift into your own gear. I've used that once. I will never use it again, and I'm pretty sure that one time is more than the average amount of times that anyone that buys this car will use it, but it's there in case you want it. And interestingly, we don't have a sort of typical tack that you would have in a normal car. Toyota in their hybrids likes to do this, like where you have an eco and a power band, and it'll kind of bounce back and forth, kind of telling you whether you're using a lot of the electric motor or if you're using a lot of electric motor plus gas. And since this one is the limited trim, we do have the heads-up display optioned on this one. You can actually see up here whether you're charging as well, which is pretty cool. You can see whether you're charging or whether you're in the eco or the power band. And we do have the 2.5 safety system here, the Toyota 2.5 safety system. Blind spot monitoring is standard, as well as rear cross traffic alert. This one does also have the radar cruise control. That is standard, as well as the lane keep assist. And the lane keep assist is, I really kind of like the lane keep assist on this. A lot of them, they're very aggressive about shoving you back into your lane. This one has the lane departure where it'll kind of vibrate at you, and the lane keep assist will just kind of gently shove you back into place. Sometimes it can get a little bit wonky where it's kind of bouncing back and forth, but for the most part, it did a pretty good job of keeping me in my lane. And that mixed with the radar cruise control, actually they work pretty well even in stop and go. I used it both on the highway, around some curves and stuff, and it really worked well as in stop and go traffic. And when you're in stop and go traffic, or when you're on the highway, if you take your hands off the wheel, it will kind of yell at you and tell you, well, it won't yell at you, it'll flash at you and tell you you need to put your hands back on the wheel. And if you stop, like if you're in stop and go, then it will actually tell you to hit the gas pedal or hit resume to keep going, just to kind of make sure that you're still paying attention. So that's a pretty good system. It actually works really well. And the radar cruise actually kind of works in conjunction with this new technology they're using that will help kind of make the car more efficient. It already gets 39 combined mpg, which is pretty good for a midsize SUV. I love this screen here. I'm watching like when the battery's charging and when it's using the power from the battery, when it's using the gas. It's pretty cool. In terms of the steering, we've got nice, very responsive, very direct steering. It is very light. It is not super communicative, but nothing is nowadays. And it's just easy to drive. Even when you're using that radar cruise and you've got the lane keep assist, like I mentioned, it's going to shove you over. You still feel like you're in control the whole time with this steering. So, overall, easy to drive, nice and comfortable ride, quiet other than some wind noise on the highway, good fuel economy. Very, very solid in terms of the driving experience, just easy to drive, nice kind of daily driver. From the outside here, this color is called Blueprint. We're sitting at about 106-inch wheelbase, which is the same as the Rav4, strangely enough, despite that one being a compact and this one being a mid-size at about 5 inches longer overall. We're on 19-inch rims here, wrapped in all seasons, or 18s if you're on the base trim, but we still have plenty of sidewall, even with the bigger wheels, so the ride quality doesn't really suffer much. Heated and auto-folding mirrors, no matter what trim level. Same goes for blind spot monitoring with rear cross-traffic alert and puddle lights. But the puddle lights only get you the Venza logo in this limited trim level for those of you that need a reminder of what you're driving. Note the Stargaze sunroof is only an option on the limited trim, and it adds $1,400 to your cost. Very cool system that we'll look at a little bit closer as we get into the interior portion. Up front, we've got LEDs for the headlights and daytime running lights along with auto high beams, but the base trim uses reflector LEDs while the upper two trims use projector headlights, so we're looking at better visibility here in this one than on the base. Fog lights are only on the limited trim for 2022, but they'll be added to the XLE trim as well for the 2023 model year. LEDs in the tail, as well as a full width light here for the brakes on the top two trims. It's a smaller light on the LE. Hands-free power liftgate is standard on all trims, which is pretty cool, and you can lock it into different heights if you're into that. That opens up into a 28.8 cubic foot cargo area. The Rav4 actually gets a little bit more cargo volume, even with this car being a little bit longer, because that one has more of a squared off back end. Angled hatch here definitely eats into some of your space, but it's still quite a bit of room, and you've got the 60-40 split on the seats. These anchors for the car seats are a little strange with the cloth here. I have not seen this before. Usually it's a full plastic piece. I imagine if you're taking the hook in and out from your car seat quite often, you might might get a little bit of a tear here. For 2023, we're also looking at a Nightshade option, which Toyota has added to a lot of their lineup at this point. It's blacked out mirrors, badges, blacked out wheels. It's a slick look on the Camry and the Avalon. It was limited to either black, white, or silver, but on the Venza, actually you can do black, white, or red as the options. I think red is the way to go personally. Heading inside, we've got soft text perforated seats with heating and ventilation and 2 memory settings. Super comfy, no complaints at all, and the power adjustable lumbar support allows you to get pretty aggressive. Soft text seats on the XLE trim as well, but only heat and no ventilation, and cloth on the LE trim with no heat or ventilation. 8-way power no matter what trim level, as well as memory. Comfortable leather trimmed wheel with power tilt and telescoping and memory. Heat here is only in the limited trim, and buttons here are standard for radar cruise, lane assist, Bluetooth, audio, your standard stuff. All laid out well and simple to use. This one does have the heads-up display as part of the advanced technology package. That's $725 for the heads-up display, the hybrid monitoring system, and rain sensing wipers. The heads-up display is pretty clear most of the time, but it's with certain backgrounds and certain lightings it can get a little bit tough to see. Here in the instrument cluster, we're looking at all kinds of info, my favorite being this fuel efficiency info and the power arrows showing when the power is going to the wheels and which wheels, as well as when you're charging. Clean, clear, full of info, no issues here. We've got the big 12-inch infotainment screen here as well in the top trim, 8-inch in the lower trim. This one is not available in the Rav4 actually, and we're going to see some updates next year to match the NX's tech-filled system. Not a big fan of the tacked-on tablet automakers are using in general. This one feels a little cluttered and a little dated, but overall it works fine. It's smooth, it's fairly quick, and while I don't love the HVAC controls being in here, at least they're always accessible. And for some reason, haptic controls here below the infotainment are the upgrade. I'd much rather have real buttons and knobs. We've got some cameras here as well and a few different view options, including a 360 view in this top trim. I love having a spot for my phone, but Android Auto and Apple CarPlay are wired, which means that the phone no longer fits and you have standard problems here of where do I put my phone. That's true in a lot of cars these days though. Luckily, we'll be seeing wireless connectivity in 2023. Since we're in the limited trim, we're pumping through a 9-speaker JBL sound system instead of the standard 6-speaker system on the other trims, though the JBL is also an option on the XLE. It sounds fine. I may be a little spoiled though from the Bang & Olufsen sound system that I had in the Audi that I was just in. Nice soft touch points all around and some wood grain for a little flair. Up above, we've got the Stargaze system, which goes from a cloudy look to clear and back with the press of a button. My kids love this feature, and so do I. With 38 inches of legroom in the back seats, my kids are also comfy back here, and my wife and I don't need to smash our knees into the dash. No issues for me back there either. Overall, this car offers plenty of space for both adults and kids and a decent hatch space, though I do wish it were a little more squared off like the Rav4. A great all-wheel drive system, great ride quality and comfort, and I'm averaging the estimated 39 mpg without even trying. If you're one of those people fighting for a Rav4 at MSRP right now, I definitely recommend taking a look at the Venza as well. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.